You're here, I'm pleased. I really feel your company. Your style, your smile, your pace mentality. Lord, have mercy on me. I was blind, now I can see what a king's supposed to be.
Excuse me, miss. I was in the waiting room when you gave your testimony. And what I realized is that we have an enemy in common. While you were being called to the office again, I was being put out the only home I've ever known. While you were shaking with anxiety and fear over something no one ever wants to hear, I was shaking in dread. Because we all know what happens to little girls that have no home and no one to claim them. I think our souls passed each other by. See, my soul left me a long time ago in a dingy motel room, ripped away by brutal force. It fled, unable to find its way back home.
Historical people, who would you want in your seat and why?
Wow. I guess because I'm different. You know, I'm not really starstruck, and so it would be hard to really pinpoint anybody in particular. First person that just came to my mind, you know, I mean, if I had an opportunity to cut Denzel, you know, I would.
That's a good one.
I'd do that.
That would be a dope conversation.
Exactly.
How important is diversity in your work, considering you grew up in a bilingual, bicultural home?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very important. I think at this point, just in society, there's just so much diversity. You know, whether it be in language, whether it be in your upbringing, whether it be, you know, in whatever that is. And so I think growing up in, you know, a bilingual household as well as really a bicultural, despite the fact that, you know, my parents are you know, both of Hispanic descent, but growing up in two different cultures of, you know, very traditional values in the home and very different, and sometimes similar values, right, outside of the home, but in different ways, right?
Yeah.
And so,
he tests those whom he loves. I pray he continues to love me till my death. I pray he continues testing me and testing me and testing me until I have no questions left. Until I can ingest knowledge and choke on lies and spit out truth with every breath. But you see, until love for what he loves and hate for what he hates is the only thing that's left within my chest. I know that I will constantly fight to love what's right because I was created with a heart that sits slightly to the left. But I'm okay with that. Because I always knew and always know that he knows exactly what is best. You see, he knew that it would only be a matter of time before I would open my eyes and finally realize that I needed to look deep down inside and pull out the divide so that my heart and my mind would collide and learn to work together.
What's good, my good people, online community? We are back for another powerful, impactful episode of Ordinary Conversations with Extraordinary People. I am your host, Willie Beeman. This interview is definitely going to be interesting. So, buckle your seatbelts. I believe what we're getting ready to talk about is very informative to all walks of life, whether you're in the workplace or whether you're in your family dynamic. I think this is going to be great. But without further ado, I have to give him his introduction. He is the founder of Blue Lion Leadership, nearly 70 graduate hours in leadership education and 5 coaching certifications. Former police sergeant, bringing real world experience and discipline to leadership training, works with over 100 leaders every year and speaks to many more across the industries. And last but not least, he is a husband, a cat dad, and classically trained guitarist. Online community, in-person family. Let's give a warm welcome to Mr. Charles Heasley. What's going on?
Thanks. Thanks for having me on the show. Glad to be
Yeah,
here.
man, we had to bring you back after the last training me and Rita experienced at the Benbrook Library. We was like, yeah, what you do for the people in regards to the escalation, conflict resolution is definitely necessary. So it was good to have you.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I wonder. We'll get to it later. I want to know why you laughed about my guitar. Yeah, but that's
I want to get into that too.
We'll get in- yeah.
Different topics, but just kind of in the beginning, tell us a little bit about yourself, upbringing, childhood, family dynamic before we get into the deep stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I grew up as an only child, a very small family, uh, limited aunts and uncles. So it was really kind of just a small family. My parents were awesome. Um, they were both entrepreneurs, so that was kind of a cool example to watch.
Wow.
Um, see the real day-to-day challenges of that. They both left successful jobs, but yeah, so they're both passed on now, unfortunately. But they were massive influences in my life.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
You mentioned entrepreneurship. Even we talked about it briefly offset. Do you feel like they gave you the confidence to step out and become your own business brand?
Maybe in a roundabout way. I would never really saw myself as an entrepreneur. I got into law enforcement because I needed a job
Right.
at the time, and it wasn't until I had enough training on my own in law enforcement and had done plenty of training and gotten the education, and really it got to a point where I had to leave the profession because of my own mental health.
Wow.
So I think God just kind of like directed me into entrepreneurship, and
Wow.
I wasn't really planning that path.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You mentioned being the only sibling. How was that growing up? Do you have, outside of your parents, did you have any other influential leaders, community friends, or whoever to kind of help guide you through that process?
Yeah, no, I actually begged my parents for a sibling, not understanding what all that was going to take at the time,
Yeah.
as a 5-year-old or something. But I got very fortunate when I was in second grade. My teacher just became really good family friend
Yeah.
after the second grade. She taught me piano, and then her husband, they're both like my grandparents, but he just been a mentor all my life. That's one thing that I've been super blessed with, is having mentors
Yes, I think it's important.
stacked into my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same here, man. We talked about mentorship a lot throughout a lot of our guests who have been on the show. I think it's very important. Some of the mentors in my life growing up were, grandparents, who were definitely instrumental in my life growing up as a child. As far as like mannerisms, as far as like respecting your elders, all those different things. Even my mother, still to this day, is a very influential person who shows compassion to any and everybody, no matter who they are. And I believe I've gained that attribute, from her. And then also my father, who is cool, calm, and collected guy, well-rounded, easy to get along with when it comes to having, those uncomfortable conversations, conflict resolution. And so I think I've gotten a lot of qualities from people. And for me, it takes a lot for me to get angry and upset.
I believe that.
Yeah, I'm the oldest of 4 siblings. My sister Jazz, who's 2 years younger than me, she can go from 0 to 100 within a matter of seconds. But me, my mom would always say, my daughter and son, they like night and day. And so, no, I'm definitely grateful for my upbringing too. I think mentorship is definitely important.
Yeah, but people sometimes underestimate the importance of that time as a youth. I
Yeah.
mean, the development process begins immediately, and
Yeah.
uh, you know the support system that you have growing up is critical.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we see it all the time where positive examples show up and negative examples show up as a variety of different unhealthy behaviors, or
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
yeah. Even in this, staying on this topic, we had a program that we just finished today, Parent Child Power Hour, where we allow parents and their children to come in and get resources, information from people from different areas. Today, we had somebody from Terry Area Food Bank to bring
Okay.
information on nutrition because we believe that's important. The food that our children and babies are eating. We had people who came in that talked about child development, early literacy, general parenting, music and movement, speech therapy, different areas to make sure that you mentioned the youth getting those things early,
Yeah.
so when they get older, they can apply those skills.
Yeah, and one of the areas that I'm involved in as a volunteer, I work with Youth Equipped to Succeed as a professional advisor, and they go into schools all over the really all over the state and beyond, and they do like mental health, sexual education, bullying, like all
Yeah,
these different topics from kindergarten all the way through 12th. So that's been a really cool thing to kind of give back
yeah,
to the youth.
that's gotcha. I don't want to brush over this. You mentioned earlier in the conversation about being learning piano.
Yeah.
Is that something that you still do as a, I guess, therapy moment for you?
No, I played piano from the end of second grade until, well, only for a few years, I think. And then I found guitar.
Yeah.
I found guitar when I was in middle school, and I learned like folk music, and I was really big into Metallica.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
learned a lot of that kind of stuff. And then uh, when I when I got to college, I actually wanted to be a meteorologist.
Wow.
That's
I
what.
think I can see that.
Yeah. Wow. I don't know. Thank you. when when I and I don't mean to to speak negatively of OU in any way. I'm not against OU. But when I got into college, I went to OU to do a visit. I was going to Collin College, and I went to do a visit, and I visited the meteorology department and was talking to the people, and I was like, I don't know that this is my crew.
Mm.
They were like, I consider myself to be a smart person, but these like were next level smart. And I was like, man, I just don't know that this is my crew.
Yeah.
So I went back to the college, Collin College, and I'm walking into class one day, and there's this guy playing guitar and like outside on the fountain. He's just playing and playing, and I'm listening. It must have been 30 minutes, and I asked him like, "How do you do that? How do you do that?" And he said, "Well, let me introduce you to my teacher." So he took me and introduced me to this teacher, and she puts a guitar in my hand and says, "Play what you can." And so I was like, so I played a little bit, and she was like, "Yeah, I think you should check this out." And then I changed my major the next day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Is guitar something you still practice now
Yeah.
currently?
Yeah.
Yeah. How often do you play your guitar?
Not as often as I should.
Yeah.
Not as often as I should. I mean, I have a degree in it, which I used to be fairly good. Um, Now it's more so if I know that I'm going to be playing for people, then I'll spend some time practicing.
Yeah.
Really, I should be doing it every day,
Yeah.
but
Exactly.
but I don't.
Yeah. I think it'll come with time. When you making time. I mean, you're a busy man for the field of work that you're in, the
Yeah.
things that you do. But yeah, for me, my passion has always been dance. Being dance choreographer, hip hop dance, street dancer, just different things, old school boogaloo, just different styles. And so that's something that I still do often, like you
Okay.
mentioned, not as quiet.
Yeah.
But I do need to get back to it because it's definitely good cardio for me. Yeah, good cardio for me. But yeah, that's something that I love too outside of the normal stuff. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
Yeah. Got to have those hobbies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to. You got to find ways to decompress from your daily routine. 'Cause some of us have high performance jobs, and you want to be able to make sure that you do things that you love.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I want to get into this your leadership space. So you specialize in leadership processes that actually work. What do you think most leadership programs get wrong? What have you what have you seen in the leadership space?
Oh, well, we don't have enough time for that.
I guess you give me a summarization.
So here's the thing. I think any attempt to become a better leader is a step in the right direction. Whether that's picking up a book and reading it, whether that's listening to a podcast, um, I think there's value to be had in any attempt. Where we get it wrong in a lot of ways. Actually, my dissertation right now is on how to evaluate the effectiveness of
Mm,
leadership development. And so far in my research, it's kind of confirmed what I already suspected. Uh, Number one, leadership is not a one-time event, right? So
that's good.
people go to a conference or they hear a great. We were talking about
Les
Brown
Brown,
earlier.
yeah.
They hear this motivational speaker and they're like sometimes organizations will say, yeah, check the box. They got some development. That's not how it works. It's an ongoing process. It's kind of the second point on that would be when you have a lack of senior leadership support and accountability.
Yeah.
So like if
Wow.
if Michael sends one of y'all to a leadership development program and then doesn't follow up ever, how did it go? What can I hold you accountable
Feedback.
to?
Yeah.
And accountability is often given this bad rap on who's to blame when really it should be how do we build each other up.
I like that.
So, you know, senior leadership can do they think they're doing it right, but they are actually doing a disservice if they send you to a program and they don't even know what's going on and they don't know
Wow.
what to hold you accountable to.
It's good.
I went to my very first leadership development program that I went to. I actually asked my boss, I said, what is it that you want me to get out of this? Because I was really excited.
Yeah.
I promoted very young. I was actually told that people were afraid to work for me, which was kind of devastating.
Wow.
And so I was like, I really need to get this thing right, or at least try.
Try. Yeah.
And so I get sent to this leadership school, and I'm like, what do you want me to get out of this? And my boss was very transparent with me. She said, because you promoted, your name got added to a list, and in order to get you off that list, we have to send you to this school.
Hmm.
I was like, so what do I learn? She's like, you're going to learn a lot of great concepts. Whether or not we can follow up with that or not will remain to be seen. And it surprised me, but that's the truth. There's so many senior leaders out there who don't know what people are getting out of their leadership development. They don't know what to hold them accountable to.
Wow.
And again, there's so many ways we can improve it, but another key, like with the model that we use spaced repetition. So over time, you're going to hear the same things multiple times.
Yeah, multiple times.
We also don't overload you at once. We're not going to do a day-long program about XYZ topic. We're going to spend 2 or 3 hours hitting one topic.
Yeah.
You're going to make a plan. What am I going to do for the next 2 weeks because of this? We'll come back in 2 weeks. You'll tell me, hey, this worked, or man, I struggled with this. Then we can coach you through that. And then we give you another idea and you go off, and 2 weeks later, we come back and talk about it again. So basically we're giving bite-sized chunks.
I like that. Yeah.
Rather than, because the program that I went through, the one I was just telling you about, it was actually through the Texas Police Chiefs Association. And actually it's a program that I taught for the last 3 years. We give you 3 weeks of information, but 1 week at a time. And at the end of the week, I look back at all of the stuff we talked about. And I'm like, this is too much. This is way too much. And so I challenged the participants. I said, give me one idea that you're going to go back and apply. And yeah, hopefully they have at least one.
Yeah.
But typically what we do is we send people to a conference or a retreat, or maybe we'll bring in a speaker for, I know staff development days are really popular in the libraries.
Yes.
And that's great. And again, I think any effort to improve as a leader is a good effort. But it needs to be over time. You need to have support from your senior leaders. You need to have a good facilitator who can, it's great when the facilitator gets 5-star reviews. I'm proud of my 5-star reviews.
Yeah.
That's great. But one of the things we see in the literature is that most of the evaluations of leadership development are self-reflection, meaning that the leader who goes through it basically says, yes, I liked this, or no, I didn't.
Hmm.
But liking a program and doing something about it are
Yeah,
totally
totally
different
two
things.
different things. Yeah.
So the question in my dissertation is, how can leadership development be improved to increase organizational effectiveness? But the real question is, let's say your boss, your manager goes through a leadership development program. Do you notice? You're on the front line
Mm.
and your boss goes through a leadership development program. Do you notice anything different in their behavior, in their attitude,
Wow.
the way they talk to you?
Yeah.
That's the real question that I'm looking for.
Wow. That's so good. It's funny you mentioned staff development. We literally just started. We had a training Monday with Michael and the team, and he put us through different scenarios as far as like case studies and how we can relate to that situation scenario. And it was so powerful because each one of us had different perspectives, and we used real life examples, stuff that we experience here in the workplace, and even just throughout our lives of living. And so Rita was like, let's do it again. And so we're looking to continue that even next month and doing reference interviews, using those follow-up questions.
Okay.
So when people come throughout this building, we know how to get to the root of what they need with those different questions that we ask. And so now it was powerful. So I hope we continue to keep that going.
Well, I think that experiential learning like that is so important, where in your case study methods, there's some criticism of case studies because if you make a plan, you don't necessarily execute the plan. You don't know if it worked.
Mm.
But in your case, the way you're using case studies is, here's a situation, let's all share our experiences.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's powerful because then the next time you come across the situation, you're like, this is familiar.
Yeah.
I've got this.
Yeah. It was definitely powerful to hear from each staff member, man, from experiences to relatable stories, and it gave us dialogue. It gave
Yeah.
us conversation. What could we do better if we were in a situation again? And so, it was very, very helpful. So there'll probably be something we'll continue. So when we find ourselves in these situations, from people that are coming in and out this building, we're like, okay, I remember what I learned. I remember what we talked about previously. Let me see, how can I implement, those skills. So it was good. Yeah.
That's great. I mean, training focused on the actual implementation of new skills is so important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For you, also studying your body, you worked with over 100 leaders.
Yeah.
See, that's a lot of it's a lot of leadership training. What's a common challenge you see across, I guess, different industries that you've, I guess, worked with, different organizations? What's one common thing that you're
One
like,
common thing.
yeah, this is not good. Let me see how I can give them better.
Well, no. Your prompt was just fine. I'm trying to think because I work with a lot of different sectors.
Yeah.
Private, nonprofit, public. When you say a challenge, what do you mean? And are you thinking a challenge for the participants or a just general leadership challenge?
I would say general leadership challenges.
Okay. If I had to pick one, it would be feedback.
Feedback.
There's a lot of challenges out there, but and I actually just gave a talk on this the other day about feedback. There's multiple kinds of feedback, and as leaders, you can give feedback that pours into people, like you may be familiar with the emotional bank account concept.
I've heard that concept. Yeah.
So the idea is that there's certain things that we can do to pour into people.
Yes, deposits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's certain things we do to withdraw
from people.
Yep.
I use that concept a lot.
Yep. Yeah. So there's first kind of feedback is like supportive feedback, like, hey, great job with this podcast. I mean, that's, like that kind of feedback that, hey, you're doing a good job. I recognize it. Thank you for very specific. So there's that. And then there's corrective feedback.
Yes, corrective.
Hey, we need to talk about this because the expectations here and you're coming down here. That is a very difficult conversation.
Yes,
Most leaders don't know how to really do that effectively. those, but really, people want to know. They want to know if their behavior is not meeting the expectation,
Yeah.
and they want to have it corrected. Believe it or not, people want to do well.
Yeah.
Like they,
Of course.
they don't show up and say, "Oh, I want to do badly." They want to.
They want to do well.
And
Absolutely.
supportive feedback is essential for helping them become better. In my leadership, I'm always talking about, I want you to become a better version of yourself. If you're at a 6 out of 10, what can we do to get you to 7? Right? If you're at a 7 out of 10, what can we do to get you an 8? We're not expecting perfection. We're just looking for progress.
Yeah.
And then there's obviously two kinds of feedback that unfortunately are too prevalent in our society, where the first one is no feedback.
Yeah.
Many people go about their daily lives and they don't get any feedback at all from their boss or family members.
Yeah.
Significant other. Like, if you do a good job, I mean, this podcast is awesome, right? If you're doing something good and your boss never says anything about it, it's like,
yeah,
yeah,
it's funny you mention that, because I've gotten positive feedback, but I've also gotten, the ones like, hey, we need to do better.
Yeah.
Even in regards to this podcast, like we started this last year, and getting the feedback I needed from Rita and from Michael to help me be better, and holding interviews and having conversations with different people from all walks of life. And I had to sit back and like, okay, I accepted. What can I do to be better? And they've seen the changes, they've seen the improvement, and so I guess my question is not even in here. Why do you think people struggle with corrective criticism?
Yeah. Well, you've heard the concept of hard conversations or crucial conversations. That's what corrective feedback is. It's a hard conversation, and it's hard for a reason. Because the person, most people are not trained how to give it, so that's a problem. Most people are not trained how to receive feedback. That's another problem. It's usually involving some sort of emotional thing. If you're correcting somebody's behavior, the tendency is for that person to get defensive about the behavior.
Right.
Another issue that we come into is that some leaders struggle, and this is not just even in formal leadership, this is in any relationship.
Any relationship, yeah.
Some people struggle to separate the behavior from the personality.
That's good.
Or the behavior from character. So just because you did a specific behavior does not necessarily mean you are a bad person or have flawed character.
Yeah.
So those are some of the main challenges. I also, really struggle with the feedback sandwich. You've heard, give them good feedback and then corrective feedback and then good feedback again. It's like,
I think I just heard that concept recently. Bread, meat, bread, or something like that.
And it's so popular. I don't think it works.
How come?
Well, it may work for some people, but I think the majority of people, they're going to get confused. Some people will only focus on the good things, believe it or not.
Yeah.
They'll say, "Oh, I'm awesome," because the bread says I was awesome. I don't really remember the meat.
Yeah.
But then the other bread said I was awesome too.
Yeah, say something.
And some people will only focus on that meat.
Wow.
And so the positive things you say go in one ear and out the other.
Yeah.
Not everyone, but that tends to be the way it goes. I think the way to approach corrective feedback, I read an article, I think from 2013 or 2015 in the Harvard Business Review. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
It basically said that for every piece of support or of a corrective feedback that you give, you have to give 5.6 supportive feedback comments.
Wow.
I don't know what 0.6 looks like, but
yeah.
Basically you need to be giving more supportive feedback, more affirmation. That way, when you do have to give corrective feedback, people they know that you're in their corner, but also if the only time people ever hear from you is if it's bad,
yeah.
And corrective feedback, I don't think is bad. It's a good thing to correct behavior.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But if they're only hearing from you when it's bad, then they're going to dread all those conversations.
Yes. Yeah. That's well said. I think a lot of people do struggle, with that concept. Only hearing from bosses or managers or friends or family when something negative has transpired. But like you mentioned earlier, if they're using that emotional bank concept in their system, they're constantly pouring and pouring positive things into them and affirmations. When they do get to that rough
Yeah.
conversation, like, okay, I can handle it better. Yeah.
And what's amazing is I challenge leaders. Number one, you got to increase the supportive feedback.
Yeah.
Because most leaders tend to live in the no feedback. There's also abusive feedback, but hopefully you're not dealing with it.
No, not here.
I don't imagine you are here. But increase the supportive. I tell leaders all the time, catch your people doing stuff right, because they're doing stuff right all the time. Catch them doing it right and notice it.
I like that.
And then the other thing is stop not giving feedback. Like your people, again, whether it's your employees or your family or whoever it is, they want to do. People are overall good people, right? There's obviously bad, and people have flaws. We all have our flaws,
of course.
But generally, we want to do good.
Yeah.
And if you never tell them, then it's just kind of demoralizing, because we as people have a fundamental need to feel seen, respected, heard,
value, all of that.
Yeah. And then the other thing I tell people is that work on giving supportive or constructive feedback, because it's hard. And the more you do it, and the more you practice it, and really it's more about, where are you coming from as the person giving the feedback? Am I giving it to you because I care about you? Am I giving it to you because you're annoying me? Am I giving it to you because I believe it's in your best interest? I tell leaders all the time, when you're giving support, corrective feedback rather, you got to check yourself first.
I like that. Before I move on, I have me and my sister, I mentioned earlier, Jazz, we had a conversation, and she was like, I never understood why our mother never told us when we were younger that she loved us. And so she said, she's had a conversation with our mother here recently. And the reason why she wasn't doing those things is because she didn't have an outlet. And so she felt like our mother was taking her anger out on us because she didn't have an outlet to share those things and talk them through. And so now she said our relationship has gotten tremendously better because she shared those things and what she experienced or the trauma on the job or whatever case may be. And so now, every time I get off the phone, she tells her, "Hey, Jazz, I love you." And she does the same thing with me. When we get off the phone, we have conversations. "Hey, son, I love you. Keep doing what you're doing." And so, positive affirmations, pouring into people early, I think it's definitely vital. Yeah, definitely vital. Let's get into this. Let's make a pivot. Talk about your experience being a former police sergeant and how it helped you with de-escalation and conflict resolution.
Yeah. So after I graduated with my degree in classical guitar performance, I needed a job, and I never really thought of myself as a police officer, but my friend was in the police academy when I was in school. Right after I got done with school, moved back home, so I kind of got to see his journey. And then when he was in field training, his field training officer said to me, "Hey, I think you have the demeanor to do this." And I was like, "Okay, I don't know what that means, but okay."
Yeah.
So I applied, and I got the job. And I started with Richardson Police Department, then I moved to Plano Police Department. And when I promoted to sergeant, I promoted very early, 5 years in total time. I was 30 years old. And right before I promoted, I took this class, a 40-hour class called Mental Health Peace Officer. And basically, it was a class that teaches you how to recognize signs of mental illness or crisis, whether that's substance abuse or whatever the cause may be. how to recognize that, and then how to de-escalate. The idea is okay, once we notice that the behavior is because of a mental illness or substance abuse or whatever, that person is not going to respond to commands the way somebody who's not in crisis would respond. So for us, we know now that if we can slow things down and talk to the person safely, that the amount of force we'll have to use is typically going to decrease. Before that class, I'm almost ashamed to admit it, but I was the kind of person that genuinely believed, like, if you're depressed, just get over it.
That was me.
I'm ashamed almost to admit that now, but that class really opened my eyes to the importance of mental health. And so when I promoted to sergeant, there was a sergeant with the police department that had been involved in the mental health program for, I think, about like a dozen years. And he made it pretty clear he was about to retire. So I thought, well, let me learn it so I can take over it when he retires. And I started in the program by learning how to teach the course, the same course that really transformed me. The state of Texas, after the Sandra Bland incident,
I remember that.
Made a new course, required a new course, very similar to the old one, and then they made it mandatory. So Plano had well, they still do. They have a police academy that Plano, Frisco, Richardson, Allen, and McKinney all send their people to. And so I was tasked with training all these recruit officers in the 40-hour class. But the state also made it mandatory to have this class for your license. So people who are already working the streets had to have this class to maintain their license. So I was like, hey, let me just I'm offering it 3 times a year to the recruits. Let me offer it several times a year to the police officers. And in that time, I trained a lot of people in this. And then one day, the city human resources came to me. In a lot of organizations, human resources is not always seen as the partner, even though I believe they should be. In policing, it's even more separated because most police departments have an internal affairs or professional standards unit, kind of their own HR.
Right.
So for HR to reach out to me, I thought was unusual. But they reach out to me and they say, hey, we're interested in what you're teaching these police officers. And I'm okay. So I put together a 4-hour program and short version, and I trained these, I think there were like 15 people in the room. And that really started a journey for me because once I did that, I was starting to get phone calls from Parks and Rec, and then I was getting phone calls from the library, and I was getting phone calls from all these people. And you train us too, and of course, I mean, I have this skill. Why not share it with the city? But a really interesting thing happened when I was with HR. I had just graduated with my master's in executive leadership, and I'm giving all these communication principles, and without even really planning for it, I was talking about, and this is how I apply this to my leadership. So this was right before COVID. After COVID, they reached out to me and asked if I would do a leadership communication class as part of a larger series. And quite honestly, that was the class that gave me the confidence to go out and do my own business.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You mentioned, we talked about feedback earlier. What were some of the reactions or feedback that you got from some of the people you were training, as far as, is it helping me? Is it not helping me? How do I apply these practical principles? What were some of those interactions, some of these courses you were teaching?
Yeah, so there's a colleague of mine, and he told me that there are 3 kinds of participants in any police training. I think this is true of most trainings, but in police training, he said that there's hostages, people who have zero desire to be there, and no matter what you're going to tell them, they have no desire to hear it. Unfortunately, that's the reality. Thankfully, I've had very few hostages, but they exist. There's the vacationers. A vacationer is sent to training, or they may choose to go because they know they're not going to have to do their day job for a while. If something sticks, that's great. And then there's the adventurer, and they want to be there. They believe there's something in this training that is going to help.
It's going to help me. Yes, it's good.
And so when I was doing these classes, these mental health peace officer and later the crisis intervention trainings, when I was dealing with the police officers who had been on the street for a while, had been putting this into practice for a while, I had mixed reactions. I had some people who were like me initially, who were like skeptical. What is this thing?
Yeah.
And then I had people who were like, yeah, you know, I've been in too many fights in my career. I think this might help. So it was mixed reactions. I would say there were more people who were optimistic about it.
Right.
When I taught the recruits, man, they were ready to go. They're like, this is amazing.
Wow.
Which was really, that was really cool to see. The new generation of policing coming in is like, they believe that, or at least in Texas where it's mandatory, they believe that this can help.
Yeah. Do you feel like some of the police training now has gotten better? Because we always see through social media news that officers are hard or they don't really honor the protect and serve value. So do you feel like trainings now are better as far as officers?
You know, I mean, I would say that in my experience, I only had 11 years of service, but in my time in law enforcement, I never really saw anyone get into the profession who, or let me phrase it this way. I never saw anybody get hired, go through the academy, field training, probation. But I was like, man, that person really shouldn't be a cop.
Yeah.
I never saw anyone complete that. Unfortunately, the police culture, the way it is very hard. I've seen a lot of really good people. I was one of them where I went into the profession and then I changed as a person. I got more closed off,
Wow.
more guarded. It takes a toll on you.
Yeah.
And it's just now becoming something that we're, well, as a profession, recognizing that mental health is a real thing. As far as the training goes, in Texas, we're very fortunate to have good training.
Yeah.
We're very fortunate to have good training, and the courses that we're required to take, I think, are necessary.
Yeah.
But by and large, there's some, but by and large,
Yeah. What practical steps can we take away to stay calm and composed in middle of heated exchanges, not just the workplace, but with family, with friends, different areas, different various relationships? What practical steps would you recommend that we use when we find ourselves in those tense moments?
Yes, I mean, one of the very first things that I would say is that every situation that you're in, the only person you can fully control, theoretically, is yourself.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're in an intense situation, your body is going to go into fight or flight, or at least some degree of it. You might get sweaty palms.
Yeah.
You might notice your muscles are clenching, dry mouth, your heart beating faster, your breath picking up a little bit. These are normal fight or flight responses because the body doesn't really know the difference. The brain doesn't fully know the difference between somebody chasing you, wanting to attack you, and somebody yelling at you.
Yeah.
The body kind of responds to it the same. So the very first thing I would say is do your best to recognize, hey, something's going on with me.
Mm.
Or as soon as you begin to get defensive, something's going on. The best thing that I've ever come across is breathing.
Mm.
Ever.
Yeah.
Now, the Navy SEALs popularized the box breathing technique.
Yeah, I wanted to get into that because you taught us that during the training.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different versions of the box breathing.
Yeah.
The one that I teach is where you breathe in deeply through your nose into your diaphragm down low for 4 counts. You hold it for 4 counts. You release it for 4, and the whole 4 counts you're taking to release it. You hold for 4 counts, and then you repeat. Now they popularized it. I did some research. It's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
But and there's other methods. Some people might breathe in for 3 counts and hold it for 7. It doesn't matter. Whatever works for you.
Right.
But what that does is that it really activates it's called it's the parasympathetic nervous system. So instead of fight or flight, to rest and digest, and there's this nerve called the vagus nerve that helps you get back into parasympathetic states, and breathing is one of the best ways to activate that nerve.
Wow.
Yeah.
Even being in these moments, is that something that we should be doing in that moment, or is that something before that moment gets heated? Because I feel like that would be, for me, I feel like that would be hard to do because like you mentioned, the brain and the emotions, they don't seem to match up when you're in that moment. So is that before?
Well, it's kind of like we were talking about with the training that y'all are doing. You're doing the case study. You're talking about it. What would I do? How would I approach it? Learning from other people. That's practice.
Yeah.
And so my recommendation is to practice.
Yeah.
Practice starting off in an environment where you're not threatened, you feel safe. For some people, I would say maybe try it before going to bed to calm yourself down. And then if you know you're going into a semi-stressful situation, try it out there.
Gotcha.
As you're walking to it, or as you're driving. I think it is more of an advanced tactic when you're in the situation. But in order to prepare for that, I think practice for most people works. Yeah.
Gotcha. How can body language and tone of voice influence the outcome of conflict discussion? The reason why I wanted to throw this one in there because lately we have been watching training videos through our work, and so on de-escalation, conflict resolution, and one of the instructors he showed this video, and there were 2 guys, they were yelling, screaming, cussing at each other in the bank, and in the video you see the guy that's bigger, his body turns and he's basically trying to make eye contact with the bystander, like, hey, let me get out of the situation. And then there's another moment where his body shifts to try to get somebody to de-escalate it. But because no one jumps in, they're yelling, screaming, and all of a sudden, the guy who's smaller, he swings, the other guy swings and knocks him out. And so I wanted to bring that up to get your input on how important body language and tone of voice is.
Well, I think we can separate it from a crisis moment and leading up to crisis. So let's just start with the crisis moment. Tone and body language. There was these studies called the Moravian studies back in, I think they were like 50 years ago now, that said basically only 7% of our communication is verbal, the words we speak.
Yeah.
In the intense situations, emotionally charged situations, 38% of it is tone, inflection, and then 55% is our actual body language. In an intense crisis situation, people are going to pick up more on the way you say things and your body language than anything. So, like I tell people, if somebody's at a 10, they're really upset, and you remain at a 1 or a 2, your shoulders kind of relaxed, your tone of voice is non-threatening, basically communicating to them, look, you don't necessarily say this, but I realize that you're going through something and this is nothing I can't handle. We'll walk through it together. If you can communicate that with your tone and body language, I care about getting you to the other side of the situation. Eventually, they're going to come down.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, yes, some people might not, but most people are going to come
They're
down
gonna come
to your
down.
level.
Yeah,
The other part of this is before we get to that point, a lot of people pass over these nonverbal clues that, if they were addressed, might prevent crisis. So, for example, here we're in a library, right? And there's all sorts of things that could cause people to be frustrated in the library. Like one example that we use a lot in our training is, let's say somebody wants to use a computer, right? Well, what are the nonverbals that we might hear that lead up to a frustrating point? We might hear, a loud
yeah.
sigh.
Mm-hmm.
We might hear them say some words under their breath. We might see them pacing back and forth, trying to release that energy. We might see them trying to release energy and it's sometimes easier to ignore those things.
Yeah.
And say, well, hopefully that person calms down. But if we were to go over there and say, hey, I'm Willie. Is there anything I can help with today? Just like acknowledging that the person needs something, that alone has the potential to help de-escalate.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned that because I think a lot of us do skip over those those nonverbals. I'm like, it'll pass, they'll calm down, we move on. But you mentioned it, I think it's very, very important. That's something I'll definitely work on as well. I remember sharing and during the training, the incident I ran into last year when I first started working here of a guy, verbal threats, cuss words, all different things, and I didn't do anything to him. I was just trying to help. Like, hey, do you need help with anything? And so you also mentioned during the training that most of the time the underlying issue is anger, but they're demonstrating out of a different emotion. And so, but I did what was necessary. I believe this is when our computers were here in the front. And what I did was I remained calm, even though my palms are getting sweaty, I was getting there. And to de-escalate it, I separated myself by going behind that desk over there to make sure there were no threats. And then I just told him, "Hey, sir, you're gonna have to leave." And then eventually he calmed down. I believe his girl was sitting at the computer behind me, grabbed him, and they walked out. And then, of course, in that moment, I hit the button to get police to come. And so, yeah, that was very intense a moment for me. And I remember Angela, who used to work here, she was like, "Man, you handled that pretty well." And so, yeah, it wasn't easy, but
well, anger is a tough emotion.
yeah,
Anger is one of those emotions that can build on itself.
yeah,
So I'm angry, and then I'm angry about being angry, and then you challenge me because I'm angry, and then I'm like angry about that, and it can build and build and build.
yeah.
But it's also a secondary emotion.
That's what you mentioned. Yeah.
So what am I angry about? Well, I might be angry that my body feels uncomfortable. Anger is often associated, like frustration and part of anger, something interfering with our goals, right? So like the computer example, so that's my turn to use it. I'm pissed off about not being able to use it now. Anger can be from all sorts. People can become angry because they're lonely. People can become angry because they thought it should be sunnier today. Who knows? Like,
anything.
And what we talk about, really, the cause doesn't matter. Like when people are angry, the cause doesn't matter at that moment. We have to deal with the emotion first, and then deal with the issue.
Yeah. I totally agree. Let's talk about you mentioned being an entrepreneur and doing these certain workshops to build that confidence to push you to become the entrepreneur that you are. So where did the name Blue Lion Leadership come from, and what is the ultimate mission behind that brand?
Okay. I started my business as JNC Leadership Consulting. Technically, that's still my legal name. But I was taking a coaching program, one of my coaching certifications, the life coaching certification and part of that was building your personal brand. And I'm sitting in this hotel in Houston, Texas. We're visiting family down in Houston, taking this training because in Africa, South Africa, they don't celebrate Thanksgiving, obviously, right? So the training was from South Africa, and it all of a sudden hit me, lion. I when you think of a lion, you think of leadership. And my big word is courage. I say I speak on courageous leadership. So the lion represents courage. It represents leadership. It represents strength.
Yeah.
At the same time, blue is meant to represent. It can represent all sorts of different things, but in my brain, it's meant to represent calm, safety, trust.
I like that.
So I want to help leaders become strong and courageous, but also people that their followers feel safe around.
Right.
And blue also has a framework. So the B stands for be bold, L stands for learn, U stands for understand, and E stands for empower. And I have a whole framework built out on that.
That's cool.
If you subscribe to my newsletter, that's basically what every newsletter is. And then what does it mean? I'll tell you that I didn't necessarily leave law enforcement because I wanted to. I wasn't fired. I wasn't under investigation. I left because of a toxic work environment.
Wow.
To the point where my mental health was broken.
Yeah.
And what I realized at the time was I was so angry with my job. I loved what I did, but my internal leadership was tough. And I was a casualty. And I'm not a victim, but I was a casualty of the system. And my mission now is to help build courageous leaders that aren't leaving casualties in their wake.
Wow. Yeah. Well said. You mentioned making sure that we have these safe spaces. I remember I get these quotes every morning, and one of the quotes said that safe people create safe spaces. So we want to make sure that the people that we are following or connected to, whether it be workplace, family, business leader, that they are someone that consider themselves a safe person, and we can have those conversations with.
Safe does not mean weak. Sometimes people confuse that and they think, oh, no, it takes a lot of strength to be a safe space because, again, when somebody's going through something, we have to be that person that says, this is nothing I can't handle as your leader, as your spouse, as your friend, as your whatever.
Yeah.
I may not fully understand what you're going through, and that's okay. I may not have the answers necessarily, but you're validated in feeling what you feel. I think that's critical.
Yeah. And to add to that, also, I think listening is probably one of the biggest skills we can have too. And to listen to understand, not to listen to react.
What'd you say?
Listen to understand. You got jokes, man. That's funny.
No, I couldn't agree more. I
like that. Yeah, you caught me off guard, man. I was not expecting that. No, that was good. Before we close the show, y'all know this is my favorite segment of the show, man. What's your library joy? As we discuss our experiences with libraries, working with libraries, and also getting Mr. Heasley's input and insight on our expansions over here, and kind of get your input, what you're excited to see. So to go back a little bit, kind of share with us your experiences. I know you probably work with numerous of libraries, and what was that experience for you?
Yeah. Well, especially for what I do, which is training, going into a library and having that community room or multi-purpose room is great because you can do so many different things with it for the community.
Yeah.
You can, I mean, the list could be endless, but for somebody like me, it's nice to go into that room, and I've gone to many libraries in these rooms where it's just a comfortable, easygoing space where we can have the training. I will say that one of the things that I'm looking forward to is your new entryway.
Yes, I think that's what I'm excited to see too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like you were right, sometimes if you're not paying attention, it could be easy to miss the library on the side of the road.
Right.
And I personally believe that our libraries are completely underutilized. I think there's so many resources that are available here that the community could benefit from. And so just knowing that it's there, I think will be awesome.
Yeah. I
Well,
agree.
having it more visible.
Yes, I totally agree. I'm definitely excited to see that in place as well, because to me, I see it as an attention grabber. When people are driving down these streets and they see that, I'm like, oh wow, if it looks like that on the outside, I can imagine what the inside of the library looks like. And so we've done library tours. When I first got here last year, we went to Cedar Hill Library.
Okay. Yeah.
Crazy. And then a couple of weeks ago, last week, I went to a training in Saginaw, just built a new library. Phenomenal rooms everywhere. They even have a senior facility specifically for seniors. They got on fitness area, coffee area, craft rooms, lounge area. Yeah, it was amazing. The family place area for the kids. I think it was like 2 floors. Yeah, the electronic book drop for people to for them to use. So yeah, that's the level that we're expecting to get to. But yeah, I'm excited to see it come into fruition. And even I mentioned earlier the outside events.
Yeah,
we try to make sure we do a lot of outside events,
food trucks. And
food trucks. We got a lot of partnerships with food vendors, allowing them to come out here and people patronize them. Concerts that we do, so we don't have to keep pushing these shelves.
Right.
We have that space outside to be able to hold those concerts and allow the community come in and have fun. But yeah, it's a lot that we're trying to do and expand on. I'm excited.
I'm excited for y'all. I can't wait. You'll have to let me know when it's done.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure we'll have an opening party. We'll make sure everybody's here to support. But before we close, man, just kind of share with our live audience, how can people find you? What workshops you have coming up? Are you on social media? How can people find resources?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So I should be easy to find online. If you can't find me, it's bluelionleadership.com. Have Blue Lion Leadership on LinkedIn, Instagram, my personal Instagram, charles.heasley. I'm just getting on Facebook.
Wow.
Yeah. So just now. But yeah, you should be able to find me online pretty easily. Charles Heasley, Blue Lion Leadership.
Gotcha. Today was great, man. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me on the show.
On the show, man. Yeah, after we came out of that training a couple months ago, Rita was like, "Yeah, we got to get him on the show."
Man, y'all are a blast.
Yeah, what he does to the community is definitely what people need to hear and see and implement these strategies, man. When it comes to de-escalation, conflict resolution, because it's not just in the workplace, but it's within our communities, it's within our families. How do we, maneuver through that? What are the best practices? And so it's been helpful to me. Yeah, it's been helpful. Yeah. This is Ordinary Conversations with Extraordinary People. We've definitely had an extraordinary conversation today. You caught me off guard, man. But today has been great, man. Feel free to follow Mr. Charles Heasley. What he offers to the community, what he does for our community is definitely a necessity and vital. So stay tuned next week at 12 p.m. To have our next guest, Bishop Sherman Allen, which is actually our pastor who will be on the show next week. Stay tuned. We'll be right back in these orange seats. We'll see y'all soon. Peace.